Okay, was in the last class we just looking at how to design a simple query. Any object you place into the rows, it does show that informative value downwards like this, and any informative you place in the columns, it shows the column value across. Now if you look at this cell, you should understand this cell meaning as what? Cell amount where my year is A, and this cell would show you what cell amount where year is B. Okay, and whenever it is key figure, it always goes with an aggregation function. Yesterday we have seen when it is standard, the aggregation function, it does use the same aggregation function what is defined in the back end. Okay, so we can, as it is, we can run this query onto browser also. Okay. Still there is a problem. I can run this query on using a T code, RSRT. What's the query name? So I get to see all the years and all the sales amounts. Now what I want to do is, what are the output I am seeing in the query, I would like to match this with the output in the cube, whether the data what comes in is correct or not. Yeah? So how do we cross check? Okay, generally this is very useful when you are trying to do some data mismatch tickets, handle issues. Yeah. Now if I go in, if I select all characteristics and say I don't see 200, I want to see all the 2 lakh records, it will show me, but you cannot really make it out here. So if you just get in, let's say I go to this, let's filter out for 1 year. Okay, say 2004, you get lot of records. Now what is it? You're using sales amount, aggregate this, go to right. So for 2004, what is the total amount? 86 lakhs something. Yeah. Now go to the query output. 2004, what is it? 86 lakhs 068. So do you understand this? What is happening? So many records, it is aggregating it and giving a single record in the query. Okay. In the cube also I would like to see the same. And how do I do this? Is I go to field select. I'll deselect everything. What is that you want to see? What? Only year and what? Sales amount. Get in. Again, if I just execute, it will still show me those 200 records first. It will show me 200. But what I want, when I'm looking at the data in the cube, I want that to be aggregated. Then I'll say, use this checkbox. Use DB aggregations. Use perform. So it will aggregate the records in the year and gives me. Now, do I see the values more aggregate on the year wise now? Now for 2004 it is 86 lakhs something 68. This is how you can aggregate the data in the cube and look at match your values against your query also. Then use the DB aggregation. Okay. So did you understand this simple query was done? Good. So let's say you basically running the query and then you're seeing the result. But what all processes does it do in the backend to get the result out for you? Okay. Don't worry, just look at this slide. So now I've got a cube with customer number, metal number, revenue, quantity and some dummy key figure. I've got OLAP processor, I've got something called OLAP cashier, and then I've got BEx query. Let's say on top of this queue you create a query with saying customer number into the rows and revenue into columns. So like almost you're saying query is what? Select customer number sum of revenue from the queue. So when you fire out, it sends a request to what? OLAP processor or nothing but OLAP engine, which first checks whether do we have the data in the OLAP cache or not. If it is there, it straight out takes it from cache and then gives you output. If it doesn't find the results of the query in this, it redirects this query onto the provider, nothing but your queue. And what is the query was? Select customer and what? Revenue. So from the queue, it actually selects your customer and what is this? Revenue. So how many records do we have in the queue? 4 records, C100, 100, C100, 200, C100, 300, C200, 400, and it reads those 4 records. So this is what we say records selected from the database. And all these 4 records which are selected will be sent to what? OLAP processor. In the OLAP processor, it does execute that aggregation function. What is the aggregation function? Sum, right? So then it starts grouping those records. These 4 records are sent to OLAP processor. At the OLAP processor, it groups those records based on the characteristic value combination. Unless customer కాబట్టి 3 records C100 same ఉన్నాయి. So it will basically combine those 3 records. When it's combining, what should be the behavior on the key figure? Sum. Because you said aggregation function is what? Sum అన్న. కాబట్టి it says C100 as 600, C200 as 400. It converts those 4 records to 2 records where in the OLAP processor, places a copy in the cache and then sends it to front end. In the front end you see 2 records. 4 records or 2 records? 2 records. So aggregation happens at OLAP processor. OLAP is the one, OLAP engine is one which actually does the aggregation of all your data. అది సమ్ చేస్తుందా మిన్నా కౌంట్ అనేది డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ అగ్రిగేషన్ ఫంక్షన్ వాట్ ఈస్ స్పెసిఫైడ్. వెన్ ఇస్ ఏ స్టాండర్డ్ అగ్రిగేషన్ ఇట్ టేక్స్ డిఫాల్ట్ అగ్రిగేషన్ వాట్ ఈస్ స్పెసిఫైడ్ ఇన్ ద బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ విచ్ ఇస్ వాట్ సమ్మేషన్. అది కాన్సెప్ట్. అండర్స్టాండ్ దిస్? డిఫాల్ట్ సమ్మేషన్. So understand, so whenever run the query, it first sends a request to OLAP processor, and OLAP processor checks the availability of data in cache. If it is there, it takes it from there. If it doesn't have in the cache, it fires a query onto provider, the database, reads the data, then selected the data what is read is sent to what? OLAP processor. There the records are grouped based on the aggregation function specified. Then the records are sent back to front end, and in the front end the records are formatted and then shown to users. This is how the query execution process runs. Okay, good.
After this, let's say you ask for submission, whatever result has come. Will it be stored in cache or will it be deleted?
Which one? The output?
Yes.
It will be in the cache.
Next time if you do the same thing, it will be in the
Yeah. See, if I fire this query now, it do get very fast because it is got in cache. You can see whether the query is in the cache or not. There's something. What is here? Cache monitor, database cache. What was your query? 005, right? Look at where do you find the query? Last one. See, here you find the query name saying it is there in the cache. Suppose I can delete this. If I delete this, I have deleted this query in the cache now. If I execute, it is fetching from database. Next. Now do you understand about rows? If I place my info bit, it does show me downwards, and if I place in the columns, then what? It will show the info bit value across. Okay, boss? And one more point to be noted, say this is a key figure, right? I can use the same key figure n number of times in the report, but characteristic I cannot use. I can use only once. One more point, okay? Now we're trying to understand free characteristics. Okay? Free characteristics block. What happens if I do something in the free characteristics? Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to place quarter and calendar year month into the free characteristics block. Now look at this, what happens. When I run this with this free characteristics now, so what do you see here now? Only year and key figures, right? Now run the output. See now in the output, okay, I've got 3 times, so I'm getting 3, fine. I'm just get only year in the because you got that in the rows. Whatever the infobit you place them into free characteristics, you don't get to see them in the result set for the first time. But if user wants, what he can do, look at this. Now I can remove the year from the drill down. We call this as a navigation block. He can navigate the query. I'll remove this year from the drill down. Okay, I get the total amounts. Now I'll say drill down on quarter. I get the report on the quarter. I remove the quarter from the drill down. I drill down on month wise. Okay, I drill down, remove month, and I drill down on year. And I also want to drill down on, let's say now I want to filter for particular year. Filter, say 2004 transfer. So this filtering is done at the front end after reading all the data. Okay. Then now I would like to drill down on a month now. So it shows all the months of that year. So what does it mean? If I place some info into the free characteristics, what? When you run the query at the initial time, in initial first time of the report, you don't get to see them in the result set, but you get them to see in the navigation block. At the later stage, user will have flexibility of doing drill down or drill across. I can also say drill across also, like say for example, I remove month here. I want across. I want to split of that month. Say I'll say across. I'll say. See, it does split across. So I can do drill down, drill across also, anything. So what is happening here? For the month and quarter, I have not placed them into the. I place them in free characteristics. So when you run the query at the first time, in the first output, you don't get to see them in the result set, but you get to see them in the navigation block. At a later stage, you can do drill down or drill across and filtering all the stuff. You can use them to navigate through the query. That's how it is. Okay, boss. That is free characteristics. You understand what is free characteristics now? Good. Next, filters. Next, we will have to understand about filters, where nothing but restrictions also we call filters, or we can call it as restrictions. Okay, you can understand it like simple. I've just placed year and amount, right? It's like, what is the query? Select year, sum of amount from the queue, group by year. Means group the records based on the year. That's how it is. Now I want to do this way. Select year, sum of amount from the queue, where my year is equal to 2004, group by year. So I want to have a where clause on year. While reading data from the queue, I would like to have a restriction done on year wise. Read data from the queue where year is equal to 2004. That's English. Okay. Select year, sum of amount from the queue where my year is equal to 2004, SQL. Drag year, drag amount, and then do a restriction on the year, that is BEx. Okay, boss? Now look, how do I do this? So we use this filter or restriction when you want to restrict the output of the query based on characteristic value. Calendar year is a characteristic and 2004 is a value of a characteristic. So based on the value of a characteristic info bit, I would like to restrict my output. That's where I use filters. Okay, now look at this. So I would like to restrict on year or something. So I'll go to filter. Okay, what is block? Filter block. Select this year. Right click and say what? Restrict. I'll say what? Single values. What is that you want? 2004. This is like where clause on your year. Okay, so save it. Now when I run this report, what is the output you should expect now? Only for 1 year. This is like where clause. Okay, I can do restriction in multiple ways. Okay, you getting what I'm saying here? Good. Now it says calendar year. What is this here? Restricted 2004. If I can delete this filter. When I delete this filter, what happens again? It is showing all the years. Okay. I was able to delete the filter, right? Then just I'll put this into here. Now I've done the same restriction. I've got two blocks here, right? What is this? Default values and characteristic rate. Now I put this restriction here now. Let's see what is the effect. Sorry. So restriction is done only on characteristic restriction block. Yeah. 2004. Now delete filter. I'll try to change filter to some other year. Can you change? Did you understand this? So what do you understand here is, in the filter when I go to filters to restrict my data on characteristic value, look at my vocabulary. I am getting into the filter block to restrict the query output based on characteristic value. ఒక క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్ ఇన్ఫార్మేషన్ ఉంది, దాంట్లో ఉన్న వాల్యూస్ బట్టి రెస్ట్రిక్ట్ చేయాలనుకున్న క్వెరీ అవుట్పుట్, అందుకు అప్పుడు ఫిల్టర్లోకి వెళ్తాను. వెళ్ళినప్పుడు నాకు రెండు బ్లాక్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఒక డిఫాల్ట్ వాల్యూస్ ఒకటి, క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్ రెస్ట్రిక్షన్స్ ఒకటి. ఇఫ్ ఐ డూ దట్ రెస్ట్రిక్షన్ ఇన్ ద డిఫాల్ట్ వాల్యూస్, okay, if I do restriction in the default values, what does it mean is, when you run the query, the restriction is played. At the runtime of the report, user can change the filter value to default values 2004. At the runtime of the query, user can change to different filter values if he wants. But if I do the same restriction here, where in the characteristic the restriction is fixed, user will not be able to change. That is the difference. Basically, you would use a filter tab to do restriction on characteristic values. But if you do the restriction in default values, when you run the query, restriction affects the query. But at the runtime of the query, user can change the filter values back to different thing. But if I do the same restriction, characteristic restrictions, what happens? It affects my query output. User will not be able to change those filter values back again. So did you understand these two, default values and characteristic restrictions? Yeah. Okay, boss, done. One more thing, one more point. I've just shown you about restriction. I've shown about filtering. I was filtering for a single value. So can I do filter in different ways also? Yes. Now look at this. Say for example, I would like to do filtering in default only. Now I just don't want to filter only 2004. Sorry. I want to say where my year is 2004, and I want to give multiple years: 2004, 2003. 2008. I can put multiple single values like this, no issues. I get multiple things, or I can also say exclude values also. I can restrict. I'll say single values. I would like to see all the years other than 2014. Move 2014 here and just click on the what is button, that becomes exclude. So what? Display data where my year is not equal to 2014, other than 2014. That is like you can exclude the values also in the reporting. So do you get to see 2014? Apart from 2014, you get to see everything else. That's what exclude is. Okay. Apart from excluding, I can also go with between, range, anything. Now drop down, select as what is value ranges. Now say between 2003 to what? Let's say 2007. So what happens now? This is like between now. Okay. So 2003 to 2007. You can say not between also. What is specify the value range and say between and specify 2007 this thing. Okay, select this and say what? So it means what? All the years other than these. Okay, I can also exclude like this. Apart from excluding, I can say less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than, equal, any condition. So you can pass in multiple selections like this. This is restrictions or filtering of data. Okay, boss? Did everyone understood this? Clear? Good. I am seeing all the years data, but I see there's one year with only 11,000 and then 99 lakhs. 99 lakhs. There's some more than this. Okay. I have a requirement like this. I would like to see those records in my queue where my amount is less than 1 crore. 99 lakhs lo konu unnai, less than 1 crore, where only 1 crore kante ekku unnai almost. సో 1 crore కంటే తక్కువ ఉన్న రికార్డ్స్ నాకు కావాలి. వేర్ మై సేల్స్ అమౌంట్ ఈజ్ లెస్ దాన్ 1 crore అది కావాలి. హౌ విల్ డూ దిస్? ఎట్లా? సో రికార్డ్ రో కాలంలో ఒక ఫిల్టర్ బ్లాక్. మై రికార్డ్ ఇస్ వేర్ మై సేల్స్ అమౌంట్ ఈజ్ లెస్ దాన్ 1 crore. ఫిల్టర్ అబ్బా ఫిల్టర్ పోయి ఏం చేయాలి? నేను అంతగా గట్టిగా ఏం చెప్పిన, we use filter when you want to restrict the output of the query based on value of a characteristic in object. ఇప్పుడు నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంది? సేయింగ్ వేర్ సేల్స్ అమౌంట్ ఈజ్ గ్రేటర్ దాన్ లెస్ దాన్ 1 crore అంటే నీకు సెలెక్ట్ కొద్దిగా ఎవరు కొద్దిగా సెలెక్ట్ ఎస్పీఎల్ ఎవరికి రాదా? అయితే ఈజీ చెప్పేది. సో అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుందంటే సెలెక్ట్లో ఏమవుతుంది, వేర్ క్లాస్ రాస్తాం కదా, select year, sum of amount from cube. So when year is like normal, it's not an aggregated field, so there is a where okay, where year is so and so on. But when you want to put the restriction on aggregated key figure like sum of amount, they don't use where, they use having clause. Having sum of amount less than 1 crore, having అంటారు, they use having clause. అర్థమైందా? మామూలు ఫీల్డ్ మీద నువ్వు వేర్ క్లాస్ పెట్టాలి, వేర్ కండిషన్ సెలెక్ట్లో. అదే అగ్రిగేటెడ్ ఫీల్డ్ మీద నువ్వు రెస్ట్రిక్షన్ పెట్టాలంటే హ్యావింగ్ అని రాస్తారనమాట సెలెక్ట్లో. సో అట్లే సేమ్ వే బెక్స్ క్వెరీలో కూడా క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్ ఫీల్డ్ మీద క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్ ఫీల్డ్ అంటే ఏ దాని మీద అగ్రిగేషన్ లేదో దాని మీద రెస్ట్రిక్షన్ పెట్టాలంటే ఫిల్టరింగ్. బట్ ఎప్పుడైతే నువ్వు కీవర్ పట్టుకుంటో విల్ దే హ్యావ్ సమ్ అగ్రిగేషన్ సమ్ మిన్న ఏదో ఒకటి ఉంటుందా? సో వెన్ యూర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు డూ రెస్ట్రిక్షన్ ఆన్ ద కీ ఫిగర్స్ విచ్ వర్క్స్ ఆన్ సమ్ అగ్రిగేషన్ ఫంక్షన్, you cannot use filtering. You have to go with something called conditions and a concept. You have a concept called conditions. So here we can go with, I forgot to type it, single value, multiple, etla range. You can go with exclude, anything you want. Okay. Inko point akkada. Normally you face this problem in the development projects. So I want to restrict this here with double line. I want to say show me all the years where my year is not double line condition. Right click restrict. ఎట్లా సేవ్ చేస్తాను.